So, welcome everybody. I think at this point you all know me, but I'm Rachel Justice, and along with Jillian Levinson, we co-lead Woman to Woman. We are absolutely thrilled that you are here today for our third of three sessions on sleep with the amazing Emma Ehrenzeller. And I'm going to just be quiet and let her run the show because I am super excited for this session. As a reminder, for those of you who are watching live, that this will be recorded and all three sessions will be in our video library, and you can access them at any point, including the meditations. So thank you, Emma.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Dun, 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 dun. Screen share. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Awesome. Okay, well, today we are talking about the spirituality of sleep and dream analysis. And really, to sum up, we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to be talking about really how religion, different major world religions view sleep, different kind of psychological takes on sleep, and then what neuroscience research can teach us about dreams. And dreams for all of those, not sleep. And as always, we will close with a hypnotic meditation for exploring dreams and the subconscious. And I just want to thank you guys for joining for all of these sessions. This is the third of our 3 sessions on sleep. If you weren't able to come to the first or especially the second, I highly recommend you go back and watch those recordings when they're made available. But I'm going to do a quick introduction. I don't know if we have any new faces in here, but I'm going to run through it as always, and then we'll get started. So if you don't know me, hello, my name is Emma Ehrenzeller. I'm a certified hypnotist who helps people with a wide variety of things, but particularly things like anxiety, sleep quality, so much. And I also study neuroscience at Columbia University, currently looking at attention, emotion, and the brain. And I think the brain is really fascinating. I also think spirituality and religion is really fascinating, and I love finding the overlaps between the 3 of them. And so that's really what we're going to be talking about today. So I want to kick us off by talking about some dreams I've had throughout my life. The first is a set of dreams that I've been having recently. And I know a few moments ago, Rachel was saying since we've started the series, she's been having much more vivid dreams. And I honestly think I actually have too. One set of dreams I've been having has been all about the difficulties getting to the airport. Had one dream where I was on the bus on my way to LaGuardia, and I just could not find on my phone which terminal I needed to get to. Had another dream where I got to the airport, and for some reason at the airport is where I started packing my bag. Another dream where I couldn't check in. Could have so many different meanings, so many different interpretations, and that's some of what we'll talk about today. But I also had another dream when I was very young. In fact, this might be the first ever dream I remember, oddly enough. It's probably about, I don't know, 6 years old, a time when Disney princesses really ruled my life. And I remember running into my parents' bedroom at like 3 a.m. screaming, Mommy, Mommy. I just had a dream that Jafar, who, if you are familiar with Disney's Aladdin, Jafar is the evil sorcerer villain. I had a dream that Jafar flushed me down the toilet. Now, though these dreams are very different, they also have some things in common. Dreams are typically bizarre. They don't always follow a logical sort of sequence or narrative, but they can also be kind of a storyline. And though these dreams might be a bit nonsensical, they also do incorporate things from my waking life, whether it's preparing for a flight to North Carolina I have next week, or the recent Disney movie I've watched. The main thing that is in common between them, though, is that they happen when we sleep. And it's something that all of us do nearly every night, even if we don't remember it. And so today, really, we're going to be talking about how different religions interpret dreams, what religions believe about them, what prominent psychologists have had to say about dreams, and what neuroscience today can teach us about dreams. So let's kick off with religion. So, if you grew up religious, or maybe if you are religious today, even if you didn't, you might be, familiar with the idea that dreams are often discussed in different, ancient texts, whether it's the Bible, the Torah, the Quran. Dreams are often a way that God or angels communicate with biblical figures. But it's interesting, and what we'll go through here is how that kind of historical belief and basis of dreams has changed into contemporary practice and belief around them. And I'm going to go through the major religions, but know that this is a very high level view of what they broadly teach. You can definitely find differences based on your own religious leaders if you're in a certain sect of one of these religions, but know that this is kind of the high level view of what we see religion to religion. So interestingly, Christianity and Judaism have somewhat similar views of dreams and their importance to everyday life. Now, there's a lot of overlap with books in the Bible, books in the Torah. There are some similar books and biblical figures between the two. God, angels, etc., had a rich tradition of communicating with these biblical figures through their dreams. But interestingly, today, there's a level of ambivalence or even a level of caution against dream analysis. Dreams are really seen as more of a natural day-to-day human phenomena rather than a wholly mystical experience. Now, there is a belief in both of these religions that dreams can be a source of divine guidance, but for the most part, it's believed that that's few and far between, and dreams are more so just something that happen when we fall asleep. When we move into Islam, there's this similar pattern of prophets, Muhammad, being communicated with in their dreams. We see that in a variety of the texts. But we see more spiritual importance put on dreams in Islam compared to Christianity and Judaism. And in fact, in Islam, there are three different types of dreams that are believed someone might have. There are true dreams, which are thought to be visions or, again, that kind of communication, divine guidance. There are false dreams, which could be almost like a trickery or negativity from, evil. And then there's, again, meaningless dreams. We see this theme come up time and time again. Meaningless dreams are just like the day-to-day human dreams, what we all experience when we go to bed. So with Islam, we are moving more towards a spiritual view of dreams, that there's a belief that this is a way you can communicate with your spiritual life, while also acknowledging that it's a normal human phenomena that happens, pretty regularly for all of us. As we move further east into Hinduism and Buddhism, when we look at the overarching themes of what they teach about dreams, it's again the same. Again, there's a lot about dreams in various texts in the both of these. And dreams really are thought to be full of symbolism, which can be used to provide divine guidance. And one thing I did notice when researching Hinduism, Buddhism, their thoughts on dreams, is that you can almost kind of train yourself or prepare yourself to have more effective or useful dreams. It's believed that practices like yoga, meditation, different kind of spiritual practices can help you have more useful, more meaningful dreams that give you more clarity, perhaps about what you need to do, next steps, karmic kind of cycles you might be in. So what I really like to point out here as we move through these different religions, as you move from more stereotypically Western to more Eastern religions, we see more and more of a prominence put on the meaning of dreams, and particularly, the potential benefits of dream analysis, which is a really interesting way to set the stage and how historically, ancient religions have looked at dreams. But this is really the contemporary view today that we see. So we move from religious to more psychological. In the 18 and 1900s, dreams and the idea of the unconscious mind were really center stage in terms of the new psychological beliefs taking the floor. And also, I forgot to mention in the beginning, but if you have any questions as we go on, don't be afraid to throw them in the chat. You can also take yourself off mute and ask as we go through. But we can ask, what in psychology, what do prominent psychologists have to say about dreams? We really can't have this discussion about dreams, psychology, etc., without first stopping at Freud. Now, Freud is very well known for his interesting and sometimes intense interpretations of dreams, unconscious desires, but he was specifically interested in looking at the manifest content versus the latent content of dreams. Now, the manifest content is essentially like the narrative or the plot line of the dream. So for that, it would be, I went in the bathroom. For some reason, Jafar was there and he flushed me down the toilet. Oh my goodness, right? The step-by-step of the dream. Now, the latent content is the symbolic meaning of the dream. So, whatever my unconscious mind, that part of my mind that is below consciousness, that I'm not necessarily aware of in my waking life, but maybe guides my habits, my desires, my beliefs, etc. What is that unconscious mind trying to tell me, trying to bring to life through this dream, even though it's a very bizarre telling of Jafar flushing me down the toilet, whatever that might mean? He was specifically interested in the latent content. He thought that that was the value of dreams, that dreams were the road to the unconscious mind that way. But specifically, he believed dreams were where we could essentially pursue wish fulfillment. And this was his idea that dreams are where we play out our unconscious desires. And now you might know of Freud or like have heard of Freud's kind of emphasis on aggressive or even like unconscious sexual desires. And that's really what he believed we were playing out in our dreams, particularly playing out any kinds of desires that we've repressed or labeled negatively. So I like this quote that I found from him while doing some reading of self-deception is a plant which withers fast in the pellucid atmosphere of dream investigation. Really reads like an 1800s, early 1900s Freudian quote. But nonetheless, what he's essentially saying is in the space of dreams, when we begin investigating them, we can no longer lie to ourselves about what we really want. He has this very, in my opinion, almost negative slant about what dreams can mean. But to analyze dreams, one tool he used and really kind of created was free association, which was basically just allowing yourself to have a stream of consciousness about the dream, about what it can mean. And this is actually a tool we're going to come back to at the end of today's workshop. But his psychoanalysis kind of procedures today, when it comes to dream analysis, were the other main thing that he used, where someone might tell him a dream and he essentially analyzed what it means. Today, that's not very highly regarded in various, psychology circles, just because, let's say I took my dream about flying to 10 different psychoanalysts, more than likely I'd get 10 different interpretations of what that dream means. That being said, however, the value in analyzing your dreams doesn't have to be finding one concrete, definite meaning. The value can just be in exploring what it does mean. And that's kind of what it could mean and kind of what's coming up in your unconscious mind, in your mind generally now. And that's the theme we're going to keep coming back to. But let's move on to Carl Jung. He's another contemporary of Freud. They overlapped in time, but he came a little after him. He similarly believed that dreams represented our unconscious mind, but he was more interested in the manifest content. So he was more interested in the plot line of, getting on the bus to LaGuardia and not being able to find the terminal on my phone. Now, Jung is really well known for coming up with archetypal personalities. So the Myers-Briggs kind of 16 personality types work is based off of his work, and also archetypal symbols. Things like your shadow side or the sides, your personality type or personality traits that maybe you repress or neglect more. Also, symbols like the mother, the hero, etc., roles like this that are seen across societies and across cultures. He was interested in how these appear in dreams and what kind of meaning they may have. But again, he was much more focused on that narrative of the dream. And now, what I particularly appreciate about Jung and his perspective on dreams is that he acknowledged that, yes, there are collective symbols that hold across cultures and societies, but there's also individual effects. And he was very focused on treating each dream and consequently each dreamer as an individual case rather than looking at it as if one dream could mean the same thing for every person. So an example of this might be if you have a dream of snakes. If maybe you grew up Christian or even Jewish, there's the story of Adam and Eve. A snake in that case might represent evil, temptation, etc. But maybe you also had snakes as pets growing up and they were your favorite animal. Maybe they represent companionship, friendship. right? There are many different ways that symbols can be interpreted person to person, and he had a greater emphasis on this, which I think is really important when we think about dream analysis. Now, Jung was also really interested in how dreams can kind of act as a balancing mechanism in the unconscious mind. So, one thing he believed is that dreams could kind of make up for qualities in a person that are either under or over expressed. So, in one of his books, I believe it's like The Interpretation of Dream Symbols, I can't remember the name offhand, but he talks about an example of a man who had very low self-esteem. He was constantly self-deprecating. And this man, at the same time, was having dreams where he was eating at dinners with Winston Churchill or Napoleon or all these highly regarded figures in history. From Jung's interpretation, these dreams were a balancing act of the low self-esteem he exhibited and played out in his day-to-day life. Dreams were a place where he could play out what it would be like to have high self-esteem, to receive that high validation and acknowledgement from others. So he saw dreams as potentially having this kind of balancing act mechanism on the one hand, and on the other hand, he also saw dreams as possibly an unconscious warning. Now, there are many spiritual traditions that believe if you are psychic or sensitive in that nature, that dreams can be premonitions. And I know a few people who have that kind of experience where they have maybe had deja vu or they've had a dream of something that's been a warning and then it's happened in the waking state. But from Jung's view, this was more of the unconscious mind picking up cues around you. So, one example he gives in his book, which I find interesting because it proves his point, but also proves maybe a more mystical view of premonitions, gives an example of a man who was very risky. He lived life on the edge. He was involved in crime, various things like that. And he also happened to like mountain climbing and practiced it. Now, this man one night had a dream that he literally just stepped off of a mountain, fell off the mountain and then woke up. From Jung's interpretation, this was that man's unconscious mind warning him that he was living too risky of a life. Our unconscious is constantly taking up, different cues and perceptions and basically data from our environment, from our relationships, from the habits we follow and the people we hang out with. And sometimes what we notice we aren't completely conscious of. So Jung believed that in this way, this man's unconscious mind was warning him that we're living on the edge and it's risky and we're worried about what will happen if we continue living in this way. So that kind of supports his idea of it's an unconscious warning. But in an interesting sense, he also kind of adds evidence to the premonition or mystical aspect of dreams by the fact that he then shares that a few months after this, the man actually ended up passing away in an accident climbing a mountain. So he did actually end up essentially falling off a mountain. So, we can take a variety of viewpoints. We can take them inspired by Freud, by Jung, or the more kind of mystical view. It's really up to what resonates with you and what feels in line with your own beliefs. And that's kind of the main thing I do encourage you to take away from this today is what perspective of dreams and dream analysis aligns with my own beliefs and what do I want to experiment with and practice to learn more about my own unconscious or what my dreams might be trying to tell me. So we can also move on a bit and talk about what recent neuroscience research has taught us about dreams. And I find this really fascinating because there's a lot of research on different stages of sleep and how sleep works. We've talked about all of that, but there's also research specifically on dreams and the function of a night of sleep with dreams versus a night of sleep without. That's what we're going to cover here. So, if you remember in our first session, we talked about the different stages of sleep and non-REM versus REM sleep, all of that. So, as we are awake during the day, the electrical communication in our brain and while we sleep can be measured by these brain waves. So, when we are awake, the brain waves are faster, they're tighter, they're real spiky, happening like this, what you see here under the relaxed wakefulness. Then when we fall asleep, we go through stages 1 through 4 of non-REM sleep. So that's what you see here. And you see that the brain waves are slowly slowing down and they get into these big, slow waves as we get into deep sleep. Interestingly, however, when we get into REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, where our dreams are predominantly happening, we see that these brain waves start to speed up again. And they actually start to look somewhat similar to our brain activity when we are awake. And interestingly, our brain going into this REM state and allowing us to dream has actually been found to have a variety of functions, including emotional processing, memory storage, problem solving, and more. And that's what we're going to cover here. So, the first benefit and importance of dreams is its ability to essentially retune our emotional brain. Now, our emotional brain or our limbic system is primarily made up of different brain areas here in the center of your brain. And when our brain is dreaming, researchers have found that different areas like your amygdala, which is kind of like your fear center in the brain, your hippocampus, which is your memory center, and your cingulate cortex, which is this kind of pink inner center here, it's your social brain, that these areas perform better after a night of sleep with dreaming than without. There are a lot of different hypotheses for this. In some ways, we're able to act out emotional scenarios in our dreams with less intensity. There is different functional activity that's happening while we sleep and while we dream that essentially refreshes these brain areas. Researchers aren't exactly sure why it happens, but I know I've had many experiences where I get low sleep, and then the next day I am so irritable and just not fun to be around, and I'm snappy. In part, this is happening, yes, because of low sleep and fatigue, but also these emotional centers that need to get their refresh while we dream and while we sleep aren't really receiving that like they normally do. And that's part one. But dreaming also has this other really interesting function with the emotional intensity and processing we're able to experience. Now, it's been found that re-experiencing emotional events, whether we're directly reliving it in a dream, whether we are encountering people from the event, whether we're experiencing a metaphor of that event, it seems to support emotional processing. And specifically, people who dream about negative experiences seem to be able to move past them faster. So, researchers first became interested in this after some work by a physician in the 90s. What she did is followed the dreams of different patients who had recently been divorced. So, she had them track their dreams for about a year. And she was specifically interested in who was dreaming about their ex-spouse or other kind of things related to the divorce. Now, she found that people who were dreaming frequently about the divorce, particularly around the time that it happened, at 1 year follow-up, these people, interestingly, were far less likely to be clinically depressed and to still really be intensely reeling from that divorce. The people who weren't dreaming as frequently or at all about the divorce were more likely to have depression, and essentially not have let go of the experience. And researchers became curious of why this might be. What they've found is that when we dream, it's a place where we can safely re-experience emotional things with less emotional intensity. Here's why. So when we dream, our brains stop releasing noradrenaline, which is essentially what causes our body to go into fight or flight, right? We talked about fight or flight last week. This is our body's stress response. It's what we do when we're faced with some kind of threat, challenge, etc. So when we dream, we are able to maybe see something like an ex-spouse or an upcoming presentation, something that's otherwise causing us a lot of emotional strife or struggle. We're able to see that and not have such a heightened, heavy response. And because of this, we can actually move through the experience in a calmer way. And it seems to almost desensitize the brain to that experience and almost like wring out the emotion from it. So essentially, when this release of noradrenaline is stopped, we can experience difficult situations with less emotional intensity, almost like from a further emotional viewpoint. And this is really the kind of mechanism that underlies a lot of different forms of therapy, right? With a lot of forms of therapy, especially exposure therapy, the goal is to be able to relive difficult experiences with less and less emotional intensity. So you might hear that and think, well, what about the people with PTSD, like veterans who wake up night after night with nightmares because they, are right back in whatever horrible, awful situation that is, causing their PTSD. This clearly isn't reducing their emotional intensity. Researchers have actually found that in the brains of people with PTSD, typically their brains don't stop releasing this noradrenaline molecule when they are sleeping and when they are dreaming. So when they fall asleep and they have a nightmare, instead of their, fight or flight response staying turned off, theirs is able to be switched on because there's still a high concentration of noradrenaline in the brain. And really what they've found in some of these studies is, let's say on a day-to-day basis, a person without PTSD, during the day, their noradrenaline levels, let's say it's at 80%. At night when they're sleeping, it goes down to 20%. And a person with PTSD, it would be like 80% to 60%. There's not that on-off mechanism. However, the good news is they found that when they can give people with PTSD medications to stop the release of noradrenaline at night, it really helps them not continue having these nightmares and even really helps treat their PTSD over time. So just some interesting stuff about how dreams are necessary for our emotional processing. So let's talk about dreams and creativity, what I think maybe dreams are best known for. So first, I want to tell you a story about Paul McCartney of the Beatles and of Wings. So one night, I believe it was around the time that they were filming the Help movie, he was in his home in, I believe, his childhood home in Liverpool. He fell asleep that night. And in a dream, he heard a beautiful melody of a song he hadn't heard before, but really loved. He thought it was a beautiful, beautiful string of notes. He woke up from his dream, decided to write it out, play it on the piano. And that song eventually became what we now know as Yesterday, one of the Beatles' most famous songs to date. Came to Paul McCartney in a dream. Now, Thomas Edison also had some interesting sleep habits to help his creativity, but you wouldn't think so at first glance. So Thomas Edison, interestingly, wasn't necessarily a huge fan of sleeping normally. Apparently, he was more of a fan of napping. And if we remember from our first session, REM sleep happens after deep sleep. So in a typical nap, you might not get all the way to the end of your 90-minute or so sleep cycle to enter REM sleep. However, Thomas Edison was very interesting in how he napped. He would sit on, his armchair. He would put a metal pan underneath his right hand. And in his right hand, he would hold 3 metal balls. And now when we fall asleep, our muscles relax, sure, but when we go into REM sleep, when we begin dreaming, our muscles are paralyzed. And when they do this, they actually just relax. It's called muscle atonia. So when Thomas Edison would enter REM sleep, his hand would relax, he would drop the 3 metal balls, and they would land on the metal pan, creating a loud noise that would then wake him up. So he actually called this practice, this time, the genius gap. This is when he would wake himself up because he knew it was when he was his most creative and when he could come up with more abstract ideas rather than relying on kind of stepwise linear thinking to try to get him where he wanted to go. So what does this tell us about REM sleep and dreaming? So in REM sleep, essentially, we're able to make much more abstract connections in our brain. When we're awake, and even when we are in NREM sleep, our brains are making more logical, stepwise connections, right? From A to B, B to C, C to D, etc. And when we are in NREM sleep, right? So that's stages 1 through 4. The first stage is from light to deep sleep. Even when we are dreaming in NREM sleep, it's more like factual dreams, like maybe recurrences of what happened that day, less emotional. It's not as bizarre, abstract, kind of crazy, kooky stuff like we see when we're in REM sleep. But in REM and REM sleep, our brain is also focused on just consolidating memories from that day. Very matter of factly, very just basic memories from that day, storing the ones that were important. When we go into REM sleep, when we go into this time when we're typically dreaming, more distant areas of our brain start making connections. And specifically, when it comes to storing our memories, REM sleep is more about putting memories in the context of our past and what we're hoping to do in the future. So I like to think of NREM sleep of really just focused on the now, whereas NREM sleep is kind of filing what's happening in the now with the past, with the future, and it's connecting it to all of these different things that we might have experienced throughout our life, these different ideas that we're playing with. It's much more abstract that way. And not just in REM sleep, but when we are dreaming in REM sleep, this sort of ability to get creative and problem solve is supported, especially if we dream about skills that we practiced that day. They've done research on how well someone can complete a maze. When they dream about the maze, they do much better than when they don't. So we see, yes, abstract thinking is supported by REM and even more supported by our dreaming. So basically, this is why people tell you to sleep on it, right? No one tells you to stay awake for 5 more hours and grind your gears as hard as you can, right? We're told to sleep on it, and that's so that we can access this creative state of mind to solve everyday problems. So more encouragement to sleep if you didn't already have it from the other 2 sessions. So the question then becomes, all right, this is all great, but now how can I learn from my dreams? What can I take away from them? So a few tips for how you can begin analyzing your dreams and interpreting them on your own. The first thing, which is rather basic, is keeping a dream journal. So this can be a notebook, this can be in the Notes app on your phone. When you wake up, you'll want to record basically the narrative of your dream, right? What happened? Who was there? What kind of symbols were in it? You can jot down how you feel, and just record it. And really, a thing that's great to look for is whether there's any repetitive symbols and themes over time. So you want to pay attention. Are there characters that are constantly coming up? Are there, symbols you see time and time again? You want to start asking yourself, what could this mean? How does it relate to events in your waking life? And I encourage you to take more of a Jungian approach towards this. So you'll want to think about first, okay, well, what does this symbol mean on a broad scale in society and in culture? But more specifically, what does it mean to me? For my lived experience and my, going back to our example of snakes. Well, what are my experiences with snakes? How do snakes make me feel? What could they symbolize for me? You'll want to kind of take that multi-layer approach as you're looking into what it could possibly mean. And to kind of help you with this, I have a few as examples that just to show how diverse of interpretations you can come up with. So one common symbol in dreams is travel. This is one I've been having, as we've discussed. Travel can mean a few different things. It can mean a desire for change or newness, or just an awareness that change is coming, or it can be more of a desire to escape. With that, it could be meaning that you're feeling very in control and that you're taking the next big step towards your goals, or it could feel like you're out of control, like you're just being jostled along the path of life. A variety of different meanings here that really depend on you and where you're situated in life right now. Another common symbol in dreams is teeth. And I know for some reason this was always a thing that people would talk about in like middle school of like, oh, if you have a dream that your teeth are falling out, that means you have low self-esteem. That was always something for some reason people were joking about in middle school. Don't know why. But if we think about, okay, well, what do teeth mean? Teeth are part of our appearance. They're a part of our smile, but they're also a part of our bite, this kind of animalistic aggression, right? And if we have dreams about something wrong with our teeth falling out, sure, maybe that means that there's insecurity about appearance. But it also might mean that there's a feeling of like loss of personal power. I'm not able to assert myself or be aggressive, defend myself in the way I need to. And finally, another common theme that you might see are finding new rooms in a home. This is actually one that Jung wrote about, having this kind of as a repetitive dream. And finding these new rooms, it could be, about new growth, self-discovery, exploration. But what kind of growth really varies, right? Is it emotionally, personally, in a new relationship? So I share all of these to highlight, I think sometimes when it comes to dream analysis, there can be a lot of, um, okay, I'm going to go on dreamdictionary.com and look up what it means, and that'll just tell me what I'm going through, right? That's kind of always how I thought of it, truthfully. But it's really much deeper than that if it's a road you decide you want to embark on. It's really important to understand, yes, what does this symbol mean at large? And maybe those online sites, like Dream Dictionary, etc., they can help you get some inspiration, but you really want to figure out what it means to you and kind of put it in context in that way. So, as discussed, one other tool you can use to do this is Freudian free association. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Freud and his thoughts and beliefs, but I do think that this is a good tool to have in your back pocket, especially if you're someone who wants to have a better relationship with your emotions, and things like that. So, to practice Freudian free association to interpret your dreams, what you do is start by recording the dream. Basically, what is the manifest content as he talked about it? What happened? Who was there? Who were the characters? How did I feel? Right? And then you'll choose one symbol from that dream, one occurrence in the dream, and do what he called free associating. This is basically just allowing yourself to have a stream of consciousness about what it could mean. So you could say, what does this symbol mean to me? What does it remind me of? How does it connect to my current life? How does it relate to the emotions I felt in the dream? It's really just following what your mind might bring up. And these are examples of questions you can use, but you just kind of want to get that stream of consciousness going and follow whatever meaning it ends with. And importantly, there are a few rules to doing this. And it's really about non-judgment. So nothing is off limits, nothing is irrelevant or too small to matter. Nothing is too random, right? When we think about dreams and abstract thought, sometimes there are connections that we might be like, oh, to me, a snake represents my job. And you might be like, well, why did I even think that? What does that mean? Just note it and follow it. Follow all of the thoughts, even the ones that maybe seem a bit weird at first, right? And really, there are a few benefits to this. One, it helps beginning to process any emotions or frustrations that maybe are kind of pent up in your psyche and looking to be released in your dreams, but especially doing this with less inner judgment, right? A lot of us are conditioned to censor our thoughts, judge our thoughts constantly. This gets to be a practice where you simply allow yourself to write it all out, explore whatever you're feeling. And, Carl Jung actually did not like this practice. He didn't think it would actually help you understand the meaning of your dreams. And I don't really think that with dream analysis, that needs to be the number one goal, because we can never define whether we know for sure that this is what that dream meant. All we can know on our end is whether understanding the dream in a certain way helped us resolve an issue in our waking life or felt very relevant, clear, and resonant for us. So when we practice free association, it also can help you, identify what is kind of coming to mind. Let's say, for you, the snake, it meant a job and you don't know why, but your job has really been troubling you recently and stressing you out. Well, then this gives you a space to kind of vent that out and begin to process why, even if maybe the dream and the snake in the dream wasn't necessarily denoting your job. Who's to know? But this practice can help you essentially process the things that are coming to mind quickly that you need space to air out. So, we talked about a lot today, and I know in the beginning some people were saying you've been having crazy dreams recently. Oh, well, I'll pause there. Does anyone have any questions on this? I always forget I have my summary slides. Okay. Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
oh, and I had one quick question too. Is so for the free association, is that something that you just do in your mind, or does he suggest writing it, or like kind of what's the most effective way of doing that self
Yeah,
association?
yeah. I would recommend writing it out. Or even like if you wanted to go on a walk. One thing I've done in the past is, and thankfully, most of us live in New York where there's a lot of people around. You can do things without looking too crazy. But going on a walk and even just recording a voice note and kind of letting yourself have a stream of consciousness about what it might mean. I find that, trying to do that in your head, it's hard to stay focused on one thing. So journaling is a great way to do it. It's probably what I would most recommend. But for some people, talking through it, you can also do it with a friend, with a partner. Um, Doing it in a way other than just in your mind will be more effective. And writing is great because you can also use that to track your dreams and what kind of symbols and meanings you personally are gleaning from them. Yeah. Um, Feeden, if you want to go next.
First of all, this is fascinating. I read a lot about sleep, but I've never ever heard so much about how dreams impact their emotions. This was just mind blowing, actually. So my
Oh,
question is this: if you are someone who has sleep problems, if, if you are someone who has sleep problems, is that one of the reasons why you may not have dreams? I don't remember the last time I had a dream, and I've had sleep problems for a very, very long time, several years now. And I just wondered, is that why I'm not dreaming, or at least why I'm not remembering if I'm dreaming?
potentially. So if we go back to are different sleep stages. If you aren't having great sleep, or if you're waking up constantly in the night, you might be interrupting your sleep cycles. So when we fall asleep, we go into stage one, stage two, stage three, and stage four, and then we get into REM sleep, which is where we mostly dream and have those kind of like crazy, bizarre dreams. So if you're constantly waking up before getting into REM sleep, you might not be getting as much REM sleep, and consequently might not be remembering your dreams as frequently. So that is a possibility, but I don't want you to worry too much because um, many people just don't remember their dreams as frequently. I personally have found when I get better sleep, I tend to remember my dreams more. Um, However, if you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, I guess I didn't dream last night, more than likely you did. You just might not remember it. Because you don't necessarily remember your dreams every night, but just because you don't remember them doesn't mean you don't have them. Is that helpful?
Yes, and just one other question about dreams. I remember years ago, I went through a period in my life where it seemed all the dreams were, I would wake up from them because I was in danger. I don't remember the
Mhm.
exact details, but I always remember waking up, my heart was pounding, and I was like really so fearful that something was about to happen. Is this something that is sort of like about a reflection of what's going in your life on some level, or just it just comes out of the blue without any particular reason?
Yeah, so between like psychoanalysts, even like many like religious beliefs and neuroscientists, there is generally a belief that dreams can reflect what's going on in your life right now. The exact connection of how can vary very widely, but if at that time you were particularly stressed out, it could be a way that your mind was kind of releasing that pressure and attempting to kind of do what we see here of like rinsing out the emotion of that. But if you were in a really stressed out phase in that phase of life at that time, don't take this as like a diagnostic at all, but like it could be that at night you were what we called and what we talked about a lot in the last session of like very hyper aroused. So your brain was still kind of like working overtime. And maybe it was you were in a phase where your brain just wasn't shutting off this noradrenaline release. So the dream felt a lot more real because your body was reacting to it as if it was real, potentially because you were just too overstimulated, and too stressed out at the time to really calm down your body at night like you normally would. That would be my guess. Definitely don't take it as like a diagnostic, but like that's kind of my theory on based on what I've read and kind of understood over the past few weeks as I've dove into all of this sleep stuff. So yeah,
That that
probably yes,
that
relevant to your life.
that really makes sense, and I appreciate your insights. And again, this was just today's session was just incredible. Thank you.
I'm so glad you liked it. Of course. Ellen, I think you had your hand up next.
I used to have night terrors when I was younger, and I don't have them anymore, which is grateful, but I was curious. My kids are starting to get nightmares like this, and so
Mm.
I'm kind of like we're like wondering what else I can try to like yeah. I'm trying to figure out like how to help them.
Yeah. Yeah. So night terrors wasn't something I dove into as much for, this series, but I believe in night terrors. What's typically happening, I know my little brother got them when we were growing up, and he would kind of walk around and like shake, and it wasn't a great experience for him. And I'm sorry that you had those and that your children are experiencing them as well. But I think to an extent, there's a level of the brain isn't shutting off the areas it's supposed to in the same way. Potentially, this, release of this chemical noradrenaline. In some people, the brain isn't paralyzing the body in sleep like it's supposed to. So some people kind of act out their dreams or just begin to have more of a physical response to them, which can contribute to a lot of that visceral fear in the night terrors. Um, so, Ellen, what I would recommend, and I have this, I'll go ahead and click forward to it. But whenever I do these sessions, I always create a little guide about like the different tools we talked about and things like that. Um, that is here. I have a few book recommendations in it, one of which I have them all next to me. One of which is this book, Why We Sleep. He, I believe, has a whole section on night terrors, and that could be a really great place to start to better understand, why exactly they're happening and the kinds of tools available to you. Um, but yeah, so it's typically happening because the brain isn't shutting down the right areas that it needs to, which creates a very visceral fear and experience of the dream and almost a reenactment of the dream for some people. And in terms of tools, that's going to be more specific. And Why We Sleep, I think, is going to be a great book to look into. So I hope that's
Thank
helpful.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. And Jackie, go ahead.
Hi, yes. I guess I have a kind of similar question. Um, so sometimes, and this happens rarely, but it's happened like multiple times in my life, I get like these really, really intense dreams that are like so vivid, like I'm talking to somebody or like a relative who's passed away, like visits me.
Mm,
And it feels like it's so, so real that I wake up and I was like, wait, did that like happen or was that just a dream? Um, so I was wondering if you know if there's any like difference in like the level of dreams where, it's something like that where it's almost like an out of body experience.
mm.
Like it's just like a little like, things just kind of jumbling around, like why that happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a few different takes on it. I mean, there's definitely the take from the more spiritual side that dreams are a place where spirits can contact us, right? Whether it's our ancestors, loved ones from the past. I know, I personally, I had one of my grandparents pass away this year, and the night that he passed away, I had a dream that he visited me, and I woke up and I was like, I know that Pop Pop passed away last night. And then I checked my phone and found out that he did. So maybe, from the Jungian point of view, that was just my dream kind of, or my subconscious putting together the data of like, he's not doing well. He's probably going to pass away soon. I'm going to have a dream about this. That'll make me feel better. Or maybe it was spiritual. But typically, on your other end of things with like just dreams that feel really real that way, those are typically going to be the dreams happening in REM sleep. I'm not sure if there's a connection between, level of stress or maybe how much REM sleep you're getting every night, if that leads you to having more vivid or intense dreams. I'm actually not sure, kind of similar to my answer to Ellen's question. It might be that when we have more intense dreams, there are certain areas of our brain that are lighting up or being more active than normal. I know I've had dreams where I've woken up and I'm like, I had one dream in high school where I dreamt that I was best friends with Drake and Justin Bieber, and we took a lot of pictures together. And in the morning, I woke up and checked my phone for the pictures because I was like, I can't believe that happened. And I forgot it was a dream. So it definitely can happen. But why exactly that happens, I'm not sure. I don't know if we really know what specifically causes the intensity of dreams, but those dreams at least will be happening when you're in REM sleep.
Very interesting. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Awesome. Well, just to quickly sum us up, first, dreams play a big role in every major religion. If you are a religious person, I encourage you to look into your, different spiritual texts and see what they say about dreams. If you're really interested in dream analysis, it could be good to explore what your religion teaches about it or different spiritual traditions you're interested in. Next, dream analysis was huge around the time of Freud and Jung, and they have a lot of interesting ideas about the unconscious and what our dreams are trying to tell us. Finally, neuroscience is showing us dreams are really important. They're not just these weird things that happen every night. They're actually important for our emotional regulation, memory, and creativity. And again, if that makes you worried and you're like, oh goodness, but I never dream, you probably do dream more than you know. Not everyone remembers their dreams every night. In fact, most people don't. If you want to do dream analysis, what I do have for you that I always do for these sessions is a summary little sheet of everything we talked about from the first session. I have the book recommendations here, different tips that we talked about with insomnia and sleep improvement, hypnosis, and then finally dream analysis. So I have that all listed out here. I'm going to share this link in the chat. If you just copy and paste that, put it in your browser, you'll get access to it. And yeah, that's what I have for you guys today. Any final questions before we move on to hypnosis? Alrighty, well, let's move right along then. So I always show this before we go into hypnosis. Today we're doing more of a hypnotic meditation, but this is essentially saying hypnosis is not a substitute for any medical or psychological attention. What we're going to be doing today is relaxation techniques, visual imagery, visualization, and stress reduction exercises, okay? If anyone has any questions, don't be afraid to ask as we continue going through.
And I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that because these sessions have been going over, if anyone needs to leave at 1 p.m., as a reminder, every part of this session, including the hypnosis, will be in the video library. So you can always go back and just listen in case you need to jump off.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, exactly. So we'll go ahead and get started then. Go ahead and start getting into a comfortable position. I always recommend sitting with your head and neck supported if you're able to, but any comfy position works. And as we go through, if you've been here before, about to go on my little monologue, so just bear with me. But as we go through, you're allowed to go wherever you want to in your mind's eye. So if I tell you to visualize a beach, you want to go to the mountains, go to the mountains. That's totally, totally fair. And wherever you want to go. If you need to adjust yourself, scratch your nose, kind of move around in your seat while we're in the hypnotic meditation, please feel free. It's only going to increase your relaxation. And as we go through, you might feel a sense of heaviness, almost like you're melting comfortably, or a sense of lightness, like you're floating. Some people feel tingling, some people feel numbness, some people feel none of the above. All of it's totally normal. And let's see. Oh yeah, and a lot of us live in Manhattan and New York. It can be kind of noisy around here. Don't worry if you hear any outside noises. Just use that as a call to pay more attention to my voice. So, any questions before we begin? No? All righty. Well, in that case, go ahead and get comfortable. And whenever you're ready, close your eyes and we will get started. So to begin, we'll just take a few rounds of deep breathing. So on your next inhale, I'd like you to breathe in for a count of 4. Hold it at the top for 2. And exhale for 6. Good. And again, inhale for 4. Hold for 2. And exhale for 6. Good. And one last time, inhaling for 4. Holding for 2. And exhaling for 6. Good. Good. You can continue breathing in this pattern if you'd like, Or if you'd prefer, you can allow your breathing to go into a normal, natural rhythm. But in your mind's eye, I'd like you to just imagine yourself in your favorite vacation home. This might be from your favorite vacation you've taken to the beach, maybe to your favorite mountains. Wherever it may be, you just find yourself relaxing comfortably, looking out the window as you're comfortable and cozy, sitting on a couch or maybe a recliner in this vacation home. You just notice the different colors around you. You notice any art on the walls. Take a few moments to just build out the image of this place. Good. Maybe you grab a blanket and you put it over your legs and your torso. Just begin to notice how soft the surface underneath you is. It's almost like you can just allow yourself to take a moment to forget any worries. Just comfortably immerse yourself in this space here today. As you're here on this comfortable couch or chair, you just start to allow your muscles to relax into the surface beneath you. You feel all the micro muscles in your face first relax to release any tension from your eyebrows, from your cheeks. Release your jaw. Good. And this sense of relaxation just moves down your neck. So you relax your neck, your throat. Good. And this just moves down your shoulders. You allow your shoulders to relax and sink into the couch or the chair beneath you. Moves down your upper arms, your elbows, your forearms, all the way out to your hands. Good. You just feel this relaxation move down your chest. You release any stomach muscles that you're holding, allowing your belly to go soft. Good. Allowing your back to relax and just melt this comfortable chair, couch beneath you. Good. And finally, allowing your legs to just release any tension from your thighs to your knees to your calves, all the way out to your ankles and the bottoms of your feet. Good. You notice that your body is feeling so good, so relaxed, so at peace. And as you look out the window of this vacation home, you just notice whatever scenic images are outside of it. Maybe you see the turquoise waters of a beach. Maybe you notice the green and snowy mountaintops, the beautiful mountain range in front of you. Just take a moment to notice what you see. Notice its detail. Notice its beauty. Good. In a few moments, I'm going to count from 7 to 1. With each count, you'll notice a new detail of the beautiful, stunning scenery outside of this window, feeling more connected with its beauty and feeling even more relaxed. So 7, feeling so good, so at peace. 6, going deeper, deeper. 5, noticing the colors, the peacefulness outside the window. 4, maybe seeing a bird or a butterfly just fly by. 3, feeling so good, so relaxed. All the way down to 2 and 1. feeling so totally and completely relaxed. Good, good. You're now relaxed to the point that your subconscious mind is open and willing to accept new suggestions about positive changes in your life. And to do this, I'm going to take your mind on a journey into your inner control room. So, in your mind's eye, I'd like you to imagine yourself in a control room. How this might remind you of a scene that you've seen in a sci-fi movie. Maybe it's some kind of operations room that you've seen in the past. But just take a look around and you find yourself surrounded with different panels with blinking lights, levers, switches, buttons, knobs. Maybe everything is a modern chrome, high-tech color. You notice that everything is organized, orderly, and instinctively, you sense that within this space is a solution to improving your sleep and understanding your dreams. Good. You find that on a nearby table, there is a remote. This almost looks like a television remote. You grab the remote, and at the top, there is a big red button that says power. Press this button, and from the ceiling, you see a projector screen begin to come down. Almost like a large flat screen TV is just coming down from the ceiling. This is the TV of your dreams, where every channel shows past dreams you've had and helps uncover their meanings. Maybe today you're interested in understanding the meaning of one recent dream in particular. If there aren't any recent dreams you're curious about, you can just allow yourself to notice whatever comes up in a few moments. So on the remote to the TV, there's a blue button that says Dream. You press this button, and on the screen of the TV, you begin to see images from a recent dream that you've had that left a strong impression on you. Just notice whatever images, symbols, characters, or even feelings from this dream that arise. Maybe you see them clearly in your mind's eye, or just clearly on the TV. And as you do, just notice the details. What colors are there? How do you feel? Are there any memorable symbols that arise? Just take a few moments to notice the details of this dream now. Good, good. Now, as you reflect on this dream, pay attention to any emotions or sensations that arise within you. Notice how certain symbols or themes maybe resonate or connect to something on a deep level, to something in your waking life. And allow yourself to make connections between the imagery of the dream and your life when you're awake. And now that you're able to see and experience it again, you might ask your subconscious, what does this dream mean to me? What is this dream trying to show me? Just notice whatever responses come up without any judgment over the next few moments. Meanings or responses might be a word, a symbol, person, could be anything. Just take a few moments and allow your subconscious to show you anything you might like to. Good, good. Just notice what came up. Notice what that means to you. Know that you can repeat this process whenever you need to explore more of the deeper meaning of your dreams. You trust in your intuition and your inner wisdom to guide you as you explore your dreams and analyze them. And as you continue to search through the landscape of your dreams, remember that you are the ultimate interpreter of your own experiences, your own life, and what your dreams might mean to you. Good. There's one more thing for you to do in this control room today. You look around the room and you see that there is a big round dial, and above it is the letter S flashing in blue light. You walk over to this dial and to this labeled letter S, and you see that under the big letter S is labeled the word sleep. You realize that this dial represents the quality of sleep you're currently getting. You just take a moment to notice where this dial is turned to, what level this dial is currently on. Good. And you know you're here today to improve the quality of your sleep. You're ready to reclaim your body's natural ability to sleep soundly through the night. And you know it's time for you to feel refreshed each morning when you wake up because you got such restful, clarifying sleep. And intuitively, you realize you can do this by moving the sleep dial all the way up, programming your brain and your body to get the most restorative sleep and dreams possible. And you know it's time for you to get good sleep again. So you place your hand on the dial. You notice maybe that it's cool and smooth to the touch. And you begin turning it upwards, increasing the dial up and up, increasing the quality of your sleep. And as you do so, you feel a sense of relaxation wash over your body. You feel even more relaxed than you were before. Your muscles release any tension. Your mind feels clear, and a soft, warm energy envelops your body. As you turn this dial up with each click, you feel calmer, more relaxed, and more at ease. And you realize that this state is actually easy for you to reach whenever you need. When your head lands on the pillow at night, you'll remember this dial. With each notch you turn it up, you'll feel yourself get more and more sleepy, ready to fall asleep and give your body the rest it needs. Good. The dial is now turned all the way up, and you feel completely at peace, restful, and in control of your sleeping habits. You know you can return here to get good sleep whenever you need. You can allow your focus to drift as I continue talking, or if you prefer, you can continue exploring this control room and change any other dials, perhaps dials related to old habits, emotions, or stressors that you want to increase or decrease. Explore your control room or feel the peacefulness build as I continue speaking. Because of your experience in this hypnotic meditation today, your body and mind begin working in perfect harmony, effortlessly repairing and replenishing themselves as you sleep. It's easy for you to feel warm and comfortable and ready to sleep every night when it's time to go to bed. When you get into your bed, you feel calm, with your mind clear. You feel a soft sense of sleepiness overtake you whenever it's time for you to sleep. Good. Your dreams become a gateway to profound insights and revelations. Your dreams guide you toward greater clarity and understanding of what's happening in your life, and perhaps what you need. And as you surrender to the healing power of sleep, you trust in your body's natural wisdom and the wisdom of your unconscious mind to share anything you need to know through your dreams. Each and every day, you wake up feeling refreshed, revitalized, and ready to embrace the day with vigor and vitality. These suggestions are firmly embedded in your subconscious mind. Grow stronger by the day, stronger by the hour, and stronger by the minute. Good, good. And if now is the time for you to drift into a comfortable, easy sleep and wake up when appropriate, please do so. But if now is the time for you to re-enter the waking state, at the count of 5, you'll open your eyes feeling completely refreshed, rejuvenated, and awake. So 1, just beginning to tune back into your body. 2, beginning to sway slightly side to side. 3, beginning to wiggle your fingers and toes. 4, eyelids just fluttering open. And 5, feeling completely awake, refreshed, and rejuvenated. Awesome. Just come back the waking state as you're ready. Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. Whenever you're ready, let me know how you're feeling. I know, good morning. Rachel has a great stretch there. That looks nice. Alrighty. Well, here's a quick summary of what we covered today. So we talked about ways that you can view your dreams from religion, psychology, and neuroscience. And we just closed with an experience in a hypnotic meditation for exploring your dreams. And in those kinds of experiences, sometimes people have stuff come up, sometimes they don't. Either is okay. And you can always come back and use any of these hypnotic meditations whenever you need them. So I highly encourage it, especially if you're struggling with your sleep. Bookmark the page for the library so it's easy to find later on. And I just want to say thank you. I've had such a fun time doing these series with you all. Please feel free to reach out via email here. Here's my email. If you have any questions, you're curious about what this work would look like. I always love doing these sessions with you. And yeah, you guys are so welcome. Thanks for all the sweet messages in the chat. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you so much,
Emma. So great.
Yeah, really, really wonderful. And I mean, each session was so different. And I also just want to say it is obvious you poured work into these. I mean, you clearly did so much research, read books, articles. I mean, the graphics even were just wonderful. And this was just fantastic experience. Thank you all for joining. We had such great turnout week after week. And it's a testament to you, Emma, to the topic, to just how wonderful you are. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Always so fun doing these. And yeah, reach out if you have any questions on this. I always love being here.
And don't forget to follow Emma on various social media for all her, as Janet mentioned, her wonderful meditations on there. So thank you so much, everyone, and happy sleeping. Good night, sweet dreams.
Yes.
And look forward to seeing you at many of our other activities.